Hey, what's going on? This week's video is a little bit of a follow-up / expansion on last week's video, which was 5 things every marriage needs. So if you missed that, I'd encourage you to go check it out. But after that video, I started getting a number of questions and comments and emails where people were wanting to add needs to the list that I gave of 5 needs, which I'm not against, but some of the things they were wanting to add are not actual needs. And then other people were saying, well, how do I know if it's a desire or a real need? And I had other people saying, well, hold on a minute, what if my spouse needs something from me, but it's actually because of an emptiness or something missing from their childhood or a past wound? Should that qualify as a need? And you can imagine where these conversations were going. So in this video, what I'm gonna attempt to do is I'm gonna attempt to distinguish between a want or a wish, desire, and an actual need in a relationship, because I think too many times we have wishes and desires that we think are needs, and since they don't get met, now we're frustrated and we think we shouldn't be in a relationship when we actually got a pretty good relationship that we're in. We just have some wishes and wants that we think are needs, and so it's causing frustration for us. So in this video, we're going to distinguish between a want and a need. That's today on Relationshots. Hey, welcome to Relationshots. My name's Eric Wooten. If this is your first time hanging out with us, welcome to the place to get practical relationship advice that actually works in your relationship. If you have not already done so, go ahead and click the subscribe button and the bell notification so you don't miss upcoming videos. If you want a free guide to intimacy, you'll see a link in the description area below. If you're looking for a place, environment, resources to strengthen your marriage, consider our Altered Marriage membership. We're building a community of couples who are intent on strengthening a relationship. And for the next few days up until Christmas, I'm offering 20% off my upcoming 6-week live Zoom masterclass that starts in January. And you can get 20% off by using the code Christmas20 for just a few more days. You can come hang out with us. We're gonna have an awesome time in January, kicking off the year, focusing on our relationships. So in this video, here's what I'm gonna attempt to do. I'm going to attempt to distinguish between a wish or a want, a desire, and an actual need in a relationship, because I think a lot of couples get stuck because they're focused on what they wish or want in the relationship. It's not actually a need. And so the problem is we got couples that are disconnecting over things that should not be connection breakers. And we got couples that are focusing on the wrong things at the neglect of actual true needs in their relationship. And they're missing the mark on this. So I think we need to talk about wishes or wants versus needs. And that's what I'm going to attempt to do in this video. So last week, just to give you an example, one of the needs that I said was emotional connection. So imagine I'm working with a couple and a wife is frustrated because her husband is not, quote, loving her the way she wants to be loved. And so this is causing now disconnection in the relationship. It's causing frustration in the relationship and a lot of tension in their relationship, because she's decided that something that is actually just a wish or a want is a need, and she is now entitled to that thing. So the emotional connection is a need, but exactly how her husband expresses that to her, now that's not the need, that's actually a wish or a want. Now don't hit the eject button like I just don't care. I'm not saying those things are not important to talk about. I think they are, and I think that couples should work towards loving each other, connecting emotionally the way that the other person wants to connect. We've talked about the 5 love languages, emotional needs. I do think those things are important. I do think we should talk about them, but they're not actual needs. They're desires that are unique to each person of how they want that need met, if that makes sense. So you want your spouse to love you a certain way, but it's not a need. You want your spouse to handle finances the way you want the finances handled, but it's not an actual need. You want your spouse to parent the way you want them to parent, which is usually the way you parent, but it's not an actual need in the relationship. And we can get stuck fighting for our wants while at the same time neglecting our needs in the relationship. So what is a true need? A true need is anything that, if missing, results in damage. Let me say that again. A true need is anything that, if missing, results in damage to you or to the relationship. For example, you need food, water, shelter. If it's missing, that will cause you damage in your life. Now, most of the things that we want are actual wishes and wants. They're not actual needs in a relationship, and we end up fighting for those things, thinking they're a need, but they're actually a want. Let me give you an example. So if I go out to eat at a restaurant, I need food. We've determined that's a need. You do need to eat. You'll die if you don't eat, right? It will cause damage to you if you do not eat. So I go to a restaurant. I want chicken parmesan to be on the menu because that's what I'm craving. I prefer to sit in a booth, not a table. But guess what? If I get stuck at a table in the middle of the restaurant and I get served a hamburger instead of chicken parmesan, no damage occurs to my life. I still got to eat, which was my need. Are you tracking with me? So mature couples are couples in which they focus first on actual needs in the relationship. And again, if you're wondering what some of the needs are, I gave 5 of them in last week's video. You can go check that out. But mature couples are focused first on their needs to make sure the needs are being met, and secondary on their wishes, their desires, their preferences of maybe how these needs are being met, as opposed to the actual need. And I see a lot of couples who have great spouses who are doing the best to fulfill the needs in the relationship, but they're frustrated because they feel entitled to their wishes and wants, and so they're ready to get out of the relationships, and it's causing too many problems in relationships, which is why I want you to understand the difference between a wish or a want and an actual need. So when it comes to your relationship, you need to first focus on what is actually needed and be grateful for the things that your spouse does to meet the needs in your life. Now, I did a whole video on why most wives don't feel loved by their husbands, and I kind of pushed on the husbands a little bit saying, hey, you think that just feeding them is enough, but they don't feel emotionally connected to you, so let me support the husbands now. That actually is a need, that you have food on the table, that you have shelter over you. And so if you've got a spouse that is working hard to meet those needs, you do need to appreciate that. Even if they're falling short on the emotional connection, some of the other things, we can work on how to do that. But you do need to acknowledge that there are some needs being met, although you still want some other things happening over here. Again, I'm not saying that your wishes, your wants, your desires are unimportant. I'm not saying that they don't matter. I think they do, and I think every couple should be working towards meeting each other's love languages, top emotional needs, understanding the preferences and desires that we have in a relationship. But what I'm saying is, if we focus all our times on that and get frustrated, we may miss out on the real needs in the relationship. And sadly, I'm seeing a lot of couples who feel entitled to having their wishes and wants met, and when they're not, they feel disconnected, they get frustrated, they attack their spouse, and a lot of them ultimately believe the lie that they need to go somewhere else, they need to leave this relationship in order to be fulfilled. Now, there is a reality that your desires, your wishes, your wants are essential to certain levels of fulfillment, enjoyment, and quality of relationship, and I don't want to minimize that. That's important to talk about, but they're not actual needs that are necessary for a healthy relationship to move forward. So my challenge to you is maybe evaluate whether there's some preferences, some desires, some wishes that you have elevated to a need position, and now you're frustrated, you're entitled in the relationship, and you're ready to get out of the relationship, not because you don't have some needs being met, because they are being met, but not in the preferred, wished, or wanted way. Meet the need first. Then let's work on expanding that by focusing on our desires, our wishes, our preferences in a relationship. So hopefully that's helpful to a lot of you that had questions on how do I know if it's a desire, a wish, or a need, or whatever. A true need, if missing, causes damage. A desire or a wish may cause frustration, a little lack of fulfillment, maybe not as enjoyable, but it's not causing, and some of you would be like, everything causes me damage. Well, that's a whole different talk. Call me, let's set up some counseling. But needs versus desires, don't get stuck on desires. Don't give up on the relationship when there's true needs being met that you're overlooking in the relationship. Focus first on the needs, second on the desires, and that's how we'll move our relationships forward. Hopefully that was helpful. Love to hear your comments in the comment section below. Again, if you're looking for a place to kick off strengthening your marriage in the new year, sign up for our class. You got a couple more days to get 20% off. You'll see the link below. That's our Altered Marriage Masterclass. If you need a community of couples to connect with, consider our marriage membership as well. And until next time, I'll see you right back here on Relation Shots.